She works with OBIS-SEAMAP, and as she starts, I'd like to ask her to explain the acronym award winning.
I unfortunately can't take credit for that award, but would like to at least point out all of my collaborators on the team. I'm the new girl on the block here, and so I've been around for 2 years and have incorporated the acoustics data, but the list of other authors there are really the ones who initially developed this and can take credit for OBIS-SEAMAP. So OBIS is the Ocean Biogeographic Information System, and that's a larger group that actually is trying to get a open access database of all marine life. And then SEAMAP is the marine mammal, sea turtle, and seabird node of OBIS-SEAMAP. And so it's just these species that are found in there. And so what SEAMAP stands for is Spatial Ecological Analysis of Megavertebrate Animal Populations. Very creative on their part. And so basically this is a biogeographic database, and this means that we're looking at locations typically of observations. Basically, in 2002, some of my other team members began to notice that there are a lot of researchers out in the world who are doing this marine mammal, seabird, and sea turtle work, and they're all doing it on a smaller scale, and there's a lot of questions on the larger scale about their ecology, about their distribution, abundance, as well as diversity that just can't be answered from these smaller scale projects. And so they noticed that there was no common location to find all of this data to begin bringing it together and answer some of these questions. So this is when they began creating OBIS-SEAMAP in order to bring all of these data sets together in one place and answer some of these larger questions. So here you can see over on the right the first website that you'll see when you go to the OBIS-SEAMAP webpage. And that plot that you see on the map is the spatial locations of all of the observations that we have, where the hotter colors, the reds, mean that we have a lot of observations, and the blue means fewer observations or even no observations. And this tends to more represent the actual effort versus necessarily where all of these animals are. One of the things that I did want to point out, you can see over on the left, we have sort of a time series of how observations have been increasing over time. And as we've gotten out into the research, talking to the researchers and developing relationships with them, we've really established ourselves as a place to collect data and have this one location for all these data resources. And as people are becoming to recognize us, you can see that our records are really increasing over time, and we're getting more on the exponential side here. Currently, we have 301 data sets, and they range from 1935 through 2011, and we've got about 2.5 million records of observations of groups of animals or individual animals. The majority of this is for seabirds at this point. However, about 230,000 marine mammal records are found in OBIS-SEAMAP at this time. And down there you can see some of the funders of this project as well. So when we start thinking about how we bring together all of this data, well, basically it's coming from researchers out in the field. And these are our data providers, and this includes government agencies, as well as universities and NGOs that are contributing. And they submit their data to us, and typically this is going to be latitude, longitudes, date and time, species, and number of animals that were found in a given sighting. This data gets submitted typically through an Excel file, but we can accept any type of data. And then we bring this into a GeoArchive. Once we have represented it, we send it back to the data providers to ensure that we're actually representing it accurately. Once they've determined that they are happy with the way we have it in there and that they are ready to let it out to the public, they let us know, and at this point we publish it. Once it gets published, it goes through two places. First, it gets cascaded up to international OBIS, and so this is the complete marine database. And then from there it goes up to GBIF, which is the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, and they have information on distributions of all types of animals and life, both terrestrial as well as marine. Once it's also public, so this is where SEAMAP users can start using this data and looking at either specific areas or specific regions, time, species, and actually explore this data through some our interactive website, and they're also able to download the data to work with it directly if they choose. We take a variety of data types. Initially, we started working out more with survey type data, so visual and aerial surveys. These would include the observation locations, and then data contributors tended to realize we weren't representing effort, and they really felt that was important, and so now we're able to incorporate the track lines as well. I've also been working on acoustic effort and time series to incorporate that. We started realizing there's obviously a lot more data out there than just the vessel surveys and aerial surveys, and these include different types of data types like colony counts for seabirds or seal fallouts, for example, telemetry data from tagged animals. I've been working to incorporate acoustic data both from mobile platforms as well as fixed instruments on the seafloor, gliders, etc. And then some other researchers are developing models, say, of density, and so we're able to incorporate that data in as well. Now, many researchers recognize some of the intrinsic value to submitting their data in order to get some of these benefits of looking at these larger scale, or also, as Dave mentioned earlier, several funders are now requiring that data be shared. However, some other data providers might not necessarily be ready to submit their data, and so we've tried to put together different incentives to make sure that these data providers are also getting benefits from sharing. One of the things is a lot of researchers tend to be contacted over time by many other researchers to share their data, and so by putting it into OBIS-SEAMAP, then they can just direct them to us and collect the data, and so it's not constantly having to communicate with multiple people who are requesting data. Another area is that we are really raising the awareness of the research. We have a link to any publications that the data come from, and if a user goes in and checks out an area and wants to know who it is that's in this area doing work, then they're able to find them on OBIS-SEAMAP if that data has been contributed. Some other important things are that the data gets organized in a standardized format. A lot of different researchers, looks like I need to go quick. So we also have offsite archives to ensure the longevity. They can visualize their data from different aspects and combine and compare their data with that of other researchers. And one of the most important things, I think, is that we have gone through and sampled environmental variables from satellites, so sea surface temperature, chlorophyll, sea surface height, as well as depth, and that can be associated with all of the data as well as effort. Here's just a quick view of some of the online features. So there are customizable queries. They can look at species, location, different data sets, different times, and pick their particular region of interest to find out who's working in that area and what data is available. There are spatially and temporally interactive features allowing them to select these regions and also look at time series of how occurrences are changing and zoom in and select specific times. As I mentioned, there's that oceanographic data sampling. So here you can see sea surface temperature with a survey lines as well as observations overlaid on them. And then finally, users are able to go in and download the data from there. One of the big concerns then when people are downloading data is data use. And so the way that we've come to terms with this is that we present this terms of use. And so this means that the data providers retain ownership of all of their data, and that's been very important. And for a user to even be able to view the data, they need to agree to these terms of use. And basically it says that if they're going to use any of the data, then they are required to contact the data providers and before they use it in any publication or any type of product. The only information that they get are the locations, dates, and species. However, any other attributes that may have been collected that data providers want to contribute, those are available and will let users know that that data is available, but they need to contact the data provider for that. And then I just wanted to go into two specialized applications that we have that I think might be interesting. One of these is photo ID, and so as John was talking about, having these catalogs where people are able to collaborate with each other and compare. Kim Urian in our group has been working on the Mid-Atlantic Bottlenose Dolphin photo ID catalog, and she's developed a tool that enables researchers to upload their fin data and then to be able to compare and collaborate across different sites all along the Mid-Atlantic region, and they can then compare and determine whether these fins are in fact appropriate matches and start looking at some of these larger patterns of movement. And another really interesting data set I think is the turtle nesting data. And so turtle researchers tend to have one specific site where they have been looking at nesting over a long period of time, and so they have a time series, but they don't tend to have that larger geographical global point of view. And the State of the World Sea Turtles group has been collaborating with OBIS-SEAMAP, and so they actually have their own special application on OBIS-SEAMAP, where I think about 400 different researchers have all contributed data from their nesting sites, and now they're starting to be able to answer some of these larger global questions that they would not have been able to do. So we are hoping then that similarly with marine mammals and seabirds, these type of collaborations and data sharing will be enhanced through OBIS-SEAMAP.